Welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. As the India-China border situation remains tense, the focus is on Moscow, where the foreign ministers of the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, are gathering to meet. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar is attending the SCO ministerial meeting. He will also hold a bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi. The two ministers have spoken on the phone once since the border conflict began in June. A lot of things are now hinging on how things go in Moscow. Jaishankar and Wang Yi will be face-to-face 3 times today and will participate in common engagements. So far, despite the multiple rounds of military and diplomatic dialogues, no disengagement or de-escalation has taken place at the LAC in eastern Ladakh region. On the other hand, Pakistan is being represented by Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Before leaving for Moscow, Jaishankar said that India will continue its zero diplomacy policy with Pakistan until it shuns terror. Therefore, no meeting can be expected with Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO meet. Sir, would you like to speak, sir? For more on this, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Civil. Good evening to you, Siddhant. India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar is attending the SCO ministerial meeting, and he will now have a bilateral with his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi. What are we expecting, especially considering the tensions on the India-China border?
Well, yes, Alison, the meet is due to start in about 1 hour's time, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Moscow time, and this will be the first in-person physical meeting between the two foreign ministers. Both the foreign ministers have spoken to each other after the Galwan incident, in which India had clearly told the Chinese side that they were responsible for the developments and the deaths at the line of actual control. But a significant meeting between the two foreign ministers, even as tension is rising on the ground. We know that the Chinese are not moving at the LAC, and the disengagement process continues to be a process that the Chinese are dragging their feet on.
Right, and Siddhant, there are obviously many other meetings that will be taking place at the SCO. What are some of the main points of contention and some of the issues that are likely to be addressed?
Well, Alison, it was a day of a lot of developments in Moscow. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization's meeting, which started at 12:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, it continued till around 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And this was a meeting in which all the countries came together, had talked about their issues, especially when it comes to the COVID crisis. But largely, this is a meeting which helps the entire region when it comes to discuss issues like terrorism and, of course, the issue of connectivity as well. But if we look at a larger perspective from India's standpoint, it is the bilateral with the Chinese foreign minister, which is the talk of the town. Of course, we know that this is a meeting that comes just a week after the meeting between the defense ministers of the two countries. And thereafter, we saw the Chinese again indulging in provocative actions. The defense ministers meeting took place on Friday, and then we of course saw the entire incident, Chinese provocative action, on Monday.
Siddhant, thank you very much for bringing us all the latest there. Now, earlier we spoke to our WION correspondent Julia Chapman, bringing us the latest from Moscow. Take a listen into what she had to say.
Well, there are a number of issues on the agenda for the foreign ministers at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Ministers meeting that is ongoing here in Moscow over the next couple of days, and chief among them will be the pandemic, of course, COVID-19, a very pressing issue for all countries in the world. And Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, has said that under the conditions of the pandemic, joint cooperation among SCO member countries is more important than ever and more in demand than ever. They'll also be talking about regional security and terrorism, and also about furthering economic cooperation, developing rural areas, and moving away from some of the bigger currencies in the world like the US dollar towards focusing more on trade between the SCO members using their own currencies. Yes, that will certainly be at the forefront, the tensions between China and India. We understand that the foreign ministers of those two countries will be meeting on the sidelines of the SCO foreign ministers meeting, and this will be the first face-to-face meeting between Chinese and Indian officials since the standoff began along their border earlier this year, and it comes at a time of increased tensions because just this week there was an exchange of fire across the border in that disputed area between India and China, and each of New Delhi and Beijing blames the other for that incident. Nevertheless, they will be meeting this afternoon in about 3 hours' time for a short meeting. We understand it will be around 15 to 30 minutes long, where the foreign ministers of India and China are expected to discuss how to de-escalate the situation in that area and avoid a military confrontation.